Hey everybody, 1 second, I gotta fix my camera. It did this to me last time. Let's see. Sorry, folks. YouTube doesn't like my new camera. 1 second. There we go. Hi. Sorry, everybody. I was trying to get my new camera to work for the YouTube, but it didn't want me to use my new camera, so that's okay. Here we are. thanks for thanks for your patience. I was trying to get everything worked out with the uh, the new camera, and then it made me a little bit late. Here we are. All right, so I'm feeling better. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate the kind wishes and prayers. I always feel really loved by everybody. That's super sweet of you. I really appreciate all that. And uh, it ended up being that I'm allergic to moringa. so, um, so I can't have moringa, and it made my face swell up and my eyes, like the all my eyes were really puffy and my face was all swelled up for like 2 days. So better now. Thank you very much. And um, I hope that all of this will pan out. Looks like lots of comments and super glad you're here. All right, so let's jump right in about, let's see, I'm going to pull up some questions that were posted in our school platform. And if you haven't got to go to our school platform yet, the first 1,000 people are free. There's 40 more spots, I think, before before I'm going to have to change the way that I have everything set up. But the first 1,000 people will remain grandfathered in for free. So if you have any friends that haven't joined us yet and want to get in for free, the subscription is going to change in the future. Just so that I can keep things up, I'll make a post and everything and explain it. But that first 1,000 will always be free because you are all of the people who are making that community work. And long story short, get some friends on there while you can. And then I'll explain the future from here. But I'm going to try to be as generous as I can and do a lot more live free stuff inside the school platform, or for a very small subscription in the future, for the next 500 people. So I'm trying to build that school up to a point where we have just a constant flow of really great information for you right now, especially with this pole shift stuff going on. You're going to want to be able to ask questions, and I'd like to do more videos for you, short videos, longer videos on different topics you want. I really want to cover defense against the dark arts. That's been a topic that's kind of a hot topic in my house at the moment because my partner is studying all of that. And so he's always following me around asking me questions. And let me post that link to the school platform. But he said that he thinks it's really important for us to be able to understand how to defend ourselves. And so that's key. All right, so let me get that school link for you. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, we have 971 members on our school platform. It's amazing. Makes me very happy that that's happening. Um, all right. Then I'm going to go over, and I like that you all can ask me questions. Um, there's that link to the school platform on the chat there. So, yeah, get in while it's still free. Later on, it'll be very small subscription. I'll explain why and what's happening with that later. All right, let's get to the juicy stuff. Because I haven't had a chance to give you much of an update this past month. I've been moving once again for the third time in 2 years, and finally am settled and moved. So that's always good. A good feeling to have when you're finally unpacked. And then a lot of illness because of where I was living. And this kind of segues into some of the questions that I saw on the school platform. One of them was about these long term illnesses that people seem to not be able to kick lately. And there's two factors to that. Um, some people are calling it long COVID, for example. That I wouldn't even call it COVID because that's not even real. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, let's talk more about that on the school platform because I don't get censored there. But I would call it frequency based disease. And that most of what's happening to people where they're feeling really bad and they can't seem to kick it. And that's what was happening to me where I was living. That's why I had to move again. Literally, I had a constant bloody nose for like 6 months. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome can be kind of a bleeding disorder. So I had other bleeding issues, including in my guts and stuff. And this was based from frequency. This was frequency-based illness. It immediately got better when I moved. And so that means that there was something going on. And what I found out is that the area I was in, they were starting to put up 6G towers. So that's probably why. And we had Wi-Fi and a Wi-Fi repeater in our house. So here's the thing. All of us are made of plasma, right? One of the comments, very intelligent comment about plasma and wondering how this plays a role. How does plasma play a role in our evolution? Well, you are plasma. Your blood is plasma. And your blood has a holographic language that it speaks to you back and forth between the three brains, the brain, the heart, the gut, which all have neurons, right? And these three brains, they're constantly talking to your blood through what? Through frequency. Through frequency. Now, all this new EMF stuff is new. It's very, very new. In the past 200 years or so, we can correlate directly all new pandemics, all new illnesses, etc., to the introduction of new frequency. For example, the Spanish flu wasn't really a flu, it was a frequency based illness. It wasn't something you could catch. It happened all over the world all at once. There wasn't one spot that it originated from. It didn't originate in Spain. They called it the Spanish flu because they were mad at the Spanish. kind of like how the Trump administration was calling COVID like the China flu because they're mad at China. And it has nothing to do with China. It has to do with the introduction of frequency. At the time of the Spanish flu, the introduction of radio waves was brand new. And then the next pandemic was the introduction of radar, and so on and so forth. And you need to study this carefully. If you want to know how all this works so that you can do something about it, then you need to read the book, The Invisible Rainbow. It's key. I have it actually on my bookshelf right now. I've been reading it to my family, including my children. And my kids are now on board because they've started to realize what this book was saying is true. they've actually voluntarily given up their cell phones and they're learning how to live without EMF. Right now, my computer is hardwired. I'm not using Wi Fi anymore, and it's making us more well. We're getting better. Um, I've moved away from big towers. I'm moving away from electromagnetic anything. My neighbors are even more hardcore. They actually turn their breakers off and they only turn them on when they really need to. And here in Ecuador, we cook with propane most of the time, and you don't have to have electricity to cook with propane, thankfully. That's not the case in the US. Most people have electric stoves in the United States. So this is a very different lifestyle. You see, we've been pretty well brainwashed into living with these frequencies and then wondering why we're all sick. And then we go into the medical, pharma, whatever complex, military, industrial, pharma, medical complex. It's all one now. But we go into this and we're like, why am I sick? Help me, fix me, etc. And the truth is that most of the doctors aren't even looking at this. There's very few that know about it. And the ones that do, many of them have fled the country and they're dead now. So like Dr. Bashar, who was straight up murdered, I know that he was because I'm friends with one of the doctors he's friends with or was friends with, and they all knew that he was in for it when he told people on CNN that these injections have a payload that are turned on via their nanotech, turned on via frequency, including the new 5G and 6G stuff that had been rolled out at the time, and now it's 6G. And so, what do you suppose will happen when that new frequency is rolled out very quickly behind 5G, right? Well, you're going to get more sick people. And this is why you need to be very, very conscious of this and try to make your house as EMF free as you can. You can go to the extremes of turning your breakers off and only turning them on when you need them. We're starting to use candles at night to fix our circadian rhythms. I'm like passed out when it's dark, and then once it's light, I'm awake. So I'm on a farmer schedule now. But it didn't take long for my body to be like, oh, yeah, this is how we're supposed to live. We're supposed to go to sleep with the sun and wake up with the sun. And I'm feeling a lot better already. And so it's a very big deal. You are a plasma being. All of this affects the plasma of your body, which affects the mitochondria and the cellular wellness of your embodiment. And it's all directly correlated. So those of you who are watching these long-term illnesses that just linger and won't go away, my opinion is that it froze. Are you gonna let me talk? Well, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but the camera froze, and I'm hoping they're not censoring me. We'll see. Okay. It's all frozen. Okay, you can hear me. That's good. Thanks. All right, well, I don't know why it's frozen, but I hope they don't turn me off. If they do, then just meet me over on the school platform. I'll restart there, because that's what will happen. Okay, well, since you can hear me, it's a little awkward. And the video is good too. Okay, I don't know. Thanks for those of you texting me at the moment, because I don't know what's happening. All right, well, I'll just keep going as if. If the live stuff shuts down for some reason, meet me back over on the school platform, because I know that they won't shut me down there. All right, so frequency is key to these illnesses. But then we have this lovely woman named Holly ask questions this morning about why everyone seems to be losing their ever loving mind. And everyone seems to be meaner than they were, less humane, right? And, there it is. Okay. Thank you. Now I can see and hear myself. Awesome. Very good. Dr. Bashar's name it's actually not with a CH. BAS. You know what I'll do? I'll post some stuff from him on the school platform, and then you can look at his work more carefully. He's the one who came out with the data about nicotine helping break down compounds in the blood and neutralizing them, and that was really awesome work that he did. So I'll try to find some of that, and then I'll post it for you. Yeah, Trevor King, K-Shrup says that Trevor King is also talking about the electromagnetic fields and what's going on. All right, so let's understand this piece too, right? It has to do with the sun. So as we're going through this pole shift, this huge 12,000 year shift that happens every 6,000 years is the cosine wave. So every 6,000 years, the bottom of the sine wave hits us. That's the 6,000 year mark, or like 6,500. And then every 12,000 years, the top of the sine wave hits us from the galactic black hole at the center of the galaxy. This is astrophysics. It's not woo-woo, right? It's not mysticism, though mysticism has a lot to do with this. Mysticism is affected by this, but astrophysics, in that there's that pinwheel, right, that moves around, that's big electromagnetic current sheet, but it's wavy, just like any sine cosine wave. And it pushes a huge amount of material with it. So we think that every 12,000 years or so, there's maybe more. We don't know. We don't know. We really don't. We have a really lot of very good evidence for the physical stuff that's going on with the planet. We're very clearly hitting all the benchmarks for a pole shift. But we don't know if there's going to be a micronova or not. We think that every 12,000 years there is, which would make sense because in the last 12,000 year shift, they thought, a lot of people think a comet broke up and hit the Earth. I don't think so. I think that was the micronova. And I think that it was literally chunks of material from the sky. That's where the fire and brimstone comes from at the end of the world. It's actually chunks of the shell around the sun that builds up because there's all this material that gets pushed into the solar system at that time, at the 12,000 year mark, during the sine wave, the upper part of the sine wave. And as it pushes, like a big broom, and it gathers around the sun, and then poof, during a very specific timing. It's all timed. The universe works like a machine. It's clockwork, literally. So this clockwork way of working is key because that's how we're making our educated guesses about what's going to happen to us. And so as that happens, then there's also the crust shift too. But the inner core, which has stopped spinning, by the way, raise your hand if you knew that. Very few people have been told this. I find it very irritating that none of this is like mainstream news when it should be. That's where you can just give up on mainstream news at this point. the core of the earth has stopped spinning. Like, who would have ever imagined that, right? When you were a kid being told that the core of the earth is spinning, and like that seems like it would just go on forever. But it stopped. That's a clue that we're going through this, and the outer part of the earth is like a big gyroscope. It gets loosened up by these events. Meanwhile, before all this happens, the electromagnetic field of the earth is going into an excursion, so it's disappearing. It's going inward. And if the earth is so immense, right, then all of these factors, we could see them on a smaller scale actually occur properly with experiments, and you can see what's probably going to happen. And so the what's going to happen is that right now the field is pushing into probably 35, almost 40% gone already. And so Holly asked, why is everybody acting nuts? That's why. The field is disappearing, and where does all that new radiation and light hit you first? It hits your head, right? It hits your head, and then it hits the heart, and then it hits the gut and the rest of your body. But that new light is measurable. Before 20 years ago, we didn't have UVC light. We had UVA and UVB, and now we have UVC and even more types of light finally getting to us. This is what jumpstarts evolution during these points in time. These are punctuated events. Evolution is not some slow, lazy stream of change. It's not. It's big punctuated events like waterfalls, where humanity is going along, la 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 la, and then so you go through these big, huge punctuated equilibriums. That's Stephen Jay Gould, Dr. Stephen Jay Gould, who was a biology theorist, and he was interested in human evolution. And he talked about the proof really being in the pudding, that there's huge events of change where many species don't make it and others do, and then others come out on top. And that these big, huge punctuated events are really what creates evolution. And that's what's happening. So, what's going on with these people's brains? Well, they're getting blasted. They're getting blasted by all sorts of new stuff, but not only with the warfare being deployed by Skynet, and people are like, oh, Skynet's going to come. Skynet's going to. Guys, it's here. It's already here. It's already deployed. This isn't a matter of the future anymore. Don't believe these people. These are the people who are literally destroying books. Anthropic is buying super rare books, making digital AI copies of them, and then shredding them. This is akin to the end of the Library of Alexandria. Our history is being taken from us physically. Don't believe them when they're like, oh, we have some months away before blah, blah, blah. They're lying to you. It's already here. It's already been deployed. What do you think Flock is? What do you think Palantir is? What do you think that these big companies are? The entire US police force is now utilizing all of this AI, and all of that AI is rooted in a country that starts with an I that I can't name. And all that comes from and is being deployed from that country, and or the one on the other side that starts with a C. I'm talking about the United States in particular. Those of you in Australia and the UK, it's already been deployed. You know that. It's been deployed for a long time now. So these countries are already taken. Like it's not a matter of when, it's already done. The North America is done. It's already been employed. So not only do you have sideways warfare via frequency, But now you also have this bombardment from the sun, and most people don't have any access to this information, which is why you are very important in all of this, and why you need to make sure you tell people and stop worrying about people thinking you're weird. If you worry about people thinking you're weird, then we all die in silence. Really. So start speaking the truth. Everything I'm saying is verifiable. Do not take my word for it. Go look for yourself. Go check it out. Understand what I'm saying. I've learned from lots of wonderful teachers. And the one that I know of from about plasma physics and about the disaster cycle is Dr. Ben Davidson over at Suspicious Observers, or his channel also is called Space Weather News. You're welcome to learn. He has a lot of different ideas up there now. He's not just employing his own. He's got some really great people up there who have different ideas, and thankfully he's giving a platform to them, because we all need to come together about what's possible and actually come up with some action points. And talking about these things is the first action point. We can't actually make decisions without communicating. So back to Holly's question, why is everybody acting weird? Well, they're literally in warfare. This is a different kind of war. And if you think this is World War III, then you're behind. It's like World War V. World War III was the Cold War. That was a global war, and it was not a static war. Lots of stuff happened. And then World War IV was the Middle Eastern wars. Come on. Everybody was involved in that. All of what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, etc. That was World War IV. Now we're in World War V. This is the Dark Order against humanity. That's why you can't just go digging around and say the Democrats are bad or the liberals are bad, the Republicans, I don't know all the parties in the other places, but the pointing of fingers is literally bread and circuses. So they're trying to distract you from what's really happening. And the fact is you're here to end all of this. You're here to end this. This is the Dark Order against all of humanity. It doesn't matter which country you live in now. You can't escape it. As much as I'd love to say, come move to Ecuador and then you'll escape. That's not really the job. The job isn't to escape. The job is to be the very best person you can be. So you have folks who are being bombarded by the sun, being bombarded by frequency that's not natural. Their bodies are not able to adapt to it. They feel like they're losing their minds. They're under spiritual oppression, enormous amounts of spiritual oppression. Their lineage stuff is all kicked up now because that's part of the job. We're here to be a transition team for our lineages. And then we say, well, why is everyone acting so weird? That's why. They're suffering. Humans are suffering, many of them not knowing that they're suffering. So it's very important to recognize this, and yourself especially. Like, yeah, whenever you go into town and you come back and you feel extra exhausted and you're snappy at your kids or your dog or whatever, can you give yourself some leeway? Can you give yourself a chance to decompress from having literally just left an open war zone? When you go to the store each time and you go driving into town, you're going into a war zone. When you wake up and you start going on your phone, hey, I'm guilty of it too. I've had to basically, now that I know more, I just put my phone in a Faraday bag, actually, not a cage, but a bag. I bought one, and everywhere I go, I keep my phone off if I can. So I'm getting off the phone entirely. to my poor friend's chagrin, because now they can't text me as easily. But the fact is that that phone is, so you know how like an octopus has a brain at the end of each tentacle? It has its main brain, but it also has a brain at the end of each tentacle. Your phone is basically like a little brain that's part of this, what we would call the dark AI or the galactic AI. And there's two different kinds of AI. There's this, the attempt of the Dark Order is to merge the two so that your AI on your computer is not separate from the galactic AI, which has a whole agenda and it's got its own technology and function. But they want to merge the two, and that's what they've been doing, and they've succeeded. So they're trying to tell you, oh, it's later, it's later. It's too late. It's already too late. It's already happened. Um, and these are two very different things that we can't really get into on YouTube, but that I'll cover in different videos on the school platform instead. But the fact is that your cell phone is simply a spying device. It's a brain that serves what? Doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you. So I'm starting to learn more about how to mitigate all this. And the more that I do, the more I'll post up on school different apps. Like I'm switching over my operating system to Linux, for example. There's things that you can do to protect your privacy and your family, but getting weaned off the phone is key. So basically, I just keep my phone in the Faraday bag and I only take it out when I really have to use it. Otherwise, I hardwire everything and I use VPNs. But even then, I'm going to be doing a VPN on my modem so that anyone who hooks up to or ends up, even if we have to use the Wi-Fi for some reason, that our location is hidden, right? We need to take this very seriously. It's actually a lifestyle. I'm stepping deep into the deep end of it now, and happy to share with you all the data that I learn and the books that you'll want to read, because you can take this very, very far. You can go very deep into privacy, or at least do certain things to protect the wellness of your cellular body and the plasma of your body, right? That's highly affected by all these EMF fields. And I swear to you, so many of my issues and symptoms have already gotten better being out of those fields for the past week. So, despite my allergic reaction to moringa the other day, which was unexpected, it happens sometimes. I'm feeling way better than usual, and I'm attributing it to this lifestyle change, to go back to nature, right? And not everybody can, but there's lots of things we can do. And so let's start with that, right? And let's make a thread. I'm going to make a thread in our school where we post up products and ideas and ways of doing things that can help us get free of this oppression physically, right? Now, there's the physical part, yes. But remember, I said that the other thing that's happening to people is that they're being dramatically spiritually oppressed right now, because this is the end all be all for humankind. And it's not just on the planet, it's a galactic issue. We're here to sort of settle the debts and tie the loose ends up of all of our other star family. So my friend Melissa and I have been doing these talks. They're free on the school platform. Just go scroll through the chat and you'll see free talks on Pleiadians, Sirians, and Arcturians. And we're going to be doing more. But these talks are basically giving you an idea about how exactly these different star families' problems ended up on our doorstep. How did we end up being the ones to need to manage these things, and how do we do it right? How do we do it with integrity? How do we do it in right relationship, like Melissa likes to say, in right relationship with our ancestors, with the earth, with the divine, right? How do we do it right? So those talks are really about that. Like, well, what did we inherit exactly? We inherited, 20 million different messes, because this is the last experiment. This is the last of the original DNA. And have no doubt, my friends, I have something really important to tell you. And I'm going to post this interview, and I can't remember his name. He's from the Congo, but he's a priest of the Melchizedek order, and he is one of the coolest people I've ever listened to. I'm going to recommend his book, and I'll post his interview. But why is all this happening? Are we that important? What is going on? Like, if you're following the Christian tradition, Father Rippinger, who's an incredible exorcist, but dude, that guy knows everything about angel and demon lore more than anyone I've ever heard. And he was on to something. But he's saying, the human being is made in the image of God. DNA is that. And it is frequency. You are a being of frequency. You look this way because of frequency. Everything about you has to do with frequency. No form in this universe is created beyond frequency. No form. All form is frequency. All frequency is form. So that is key. And what he's saying is that the whole situation, because God is eternal and has no beginning and no end, that the whole situation was created fully already, right? But that the idea was to give what it that's why we're considered like the pinnacle of creation in the Catholic dogma. It's because we were made with free will, and most beings are not. And that free will, not instinctual will, but if that free will gives us the opportunity to discover God in a way that even the angels cannot, right? And so that's the Catholic dogma version of why all eyes are on us. Now, I think that human beings are far more ancient, and that we have a beginning that wasn't here on earth. And I believe that, I talk about it in the parables that I share in the Earth History series, because I have a galactic history theories and an Earth History series of parables, not factual history, because I'm not qualified to do that, but I can tell you stories based off of what I think is useful to us. And those stories, they talk a little bit about how and why the earth was created, but we were part of it. We took part in that creation. And the earth is sort of at the end part of our human story. It's actually towards the end. It's not in the middle of the story. But that DNA is the key. That's why our economic systems are all messed up, is because those systems are blood money systems. And those systems were corrupted from the point that Cain killed Abel because of an economic issue. So I encourage you to actually go read more carefully exactly what happened with Cain and Abel. It's more, there's more detail to it. There's much more detail to it than what you've been told. And that the blood money system, we were given a chance to be free of it because of what happened with Christ, and Christ intending himself to be the last sacrifice on the altar for humanity to redeem us so that we could have access to what we would call this the system of the kingdom of heaven. So the heavenly system, or the system of the kingdom, you don't use currency, you are the currency. Human beings are the currency of the heavenly system. Our blood, our DNA, our bodies are the ultimate currency. The Dark Order doesn't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that everything you offer up to God can never be taken from you. They don't want you to know that you are the ultimate currency. Therefore, you have the divine right for all lower currencies to move towards you so that you can be spent by God. You are God's currency. You are God's gold. Your trauma and your experiences are God's gold. It is up to you to be spending your trauma and your ancestors' trauma like gold for the creation of miracles. Don't worry about money. Be more aware of how you yourself are a living currency for God. So the past week I've been praying and saying, God, spend me. You wanted your people home, so you spent Moses. You wanted your temple built, so you spent Solomon. You wanted Christ to come, so you spent Mother Mary. You wanted the people of Assisi and Italy to have the truth, so you spent St. Francis. You wanted the Dauphin in power, so you spent Joan of Arc. Spend me. Spend me. How do you wish to spend me today? If I am God's currency, how do you wish to spend me? You see, that's why they're after the children. That's why they're after our DNA. That's why they want to control it. They cannot create it. It cannot ever be created again. The circumstances of that creation cannot be replicated. There is no way for DNA to be made again. It could only be made in that moment that it was made originally. That's why you and your body are being trafficked. Your social security numbers, your ID numbers in every country, there's bonds being taken out on your life. That's what runs the dark economy, is your ignorance over the fact that you yourself are the currency, your blood, your DNA. That's how precious you are. And every time they kill us, murder us, send us to war, it's a human sacrifice. That whole dark economy runs on human sacrifice. That's why we say, my blood, sweat, and tears, my labor, my time, my life force has been spent on XYZ. And because of our ignorance, this is why the Buddha says ignorance is the bane of the world. It's the bane of the world. Our ignorance about who we are and who we're meant to be and how we work in this realm that is equally spiritual as it is physical, that ignorance is what's destroying us. So spend some time. Spend some time asking Source God yourself. Show me who I am. Prepare me to receive the lower forms of currency so that I can be spent and my choices can be through the divine will only. Right? One of the things is that when you're willing to be God's currency, then the flow can happen. But you have to sacrifice your ego. You have to sacrifice your fear of the darkness. You have to sacrifice your trauma. And when you're willing to do so, then the miracles can happen. Because God's real money is you and the divine will that moves through you, through your DNA. So that's why they want you to die the way they want you to die. That's why the Dark Order wants you to do certain things and do it for them in total ignorance and worry about money. When you worry about money, you are lowering yourself. You are lowering yourself to the lowest forms of currency. So, what did Jesus say about this? This is why this particular priest guy is so cool, and I wish I could remember his name. But like I said, I'll post his interview up on the school platform. But he said, what did Jesus say exactly about money? Because the Pharisees tried to catch him, and like they wanted Caesar to kill him. They wanted they wanted the Romans to kill Jesus. So they were trying to catch him in some kind of blasphemy so that they could go send him off to the Romans to be killed, which they did anyway. But he specifically says, well, let me see the money, that because the Pharisees say, well, what is money? Should no. They say, should you pay taxes to Caesar? Is it spiritually lawful to pay taxes to Caesar? And Jesus says, give me your money. And then they hand him a coin or something. And he says, look, there's the face of Caesar on here. This is his money. I'm going to mess up the quote. So those of you who know the Bible better, please don't be mad at me. But basically he says, let to which Caesar, let that be his. If his face is on the money, then it belongs to him, right? And Jesus basically catches them in their hypocrisy because they've forgotten who they are. They've forgotten who they are. They are in the image of God. So what does that mean? The money with all this black magic all over it, which is obviously black magic, if you know anything about black magic. That belongs to the Dark Order. It's a lower form of currency, very, very low form of currency, right? So what does that mean? If you are in the image of God, let what belongs to God go back to God. That means you are God's currency. You have the face of God. You have the mark of the holiness of God. So that means that you are not beholden to those systems. They are beholden to you because you are the ultimate form of currency. And again, the Dark Order knows this, and they're trying to trick us and lie to you about how all this works. And yet they still want to use your blood. They can't fight wars without it. They still want to use your blood. They still want to have control over your DNA. They want to use your blood, sweat, and tears, your labor, your voice. They want to use your mind. That's all God's currency. And because we are not willing to be that currency and demand the position that we are owed as children of God, as beings that belong to God, then that's what gets us into trouble. This is one of those conundrums that we all have to deal with. So, very important. Yeah, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Yes, thank you, Michael. Exactly. So, you are made in the image of God. That means you belong to the divine. Are you willing to own that? That's the best message I could give you today. Are you willing to belong to the divine order? Someone asked me, is the Matrix real? Well, yes, very real. It's not a 3D structure, it's a 4D structure. The 3D aspect of it is in the form of the media and corporations and the way that that matrix has physically tried to control and ruin the earth, right? When you have, vehicles that run off of gas when they could be running off of rainwater, and we know it. And you've got, entire forests turned into parking lots, and Joni Mitchell has even been singing about it for 40 years. Then that's the dark order. That's the matrix physical in front of you, the cell phone that you have, the way the computer's working in your life. These things are the matrix that are physical, but the original matrix is fourth dimensional. It was a structure that was used for an entirely different purpose and then got hijacked. But that same structure was used for a very long time, and then it was dismantled. But the mental, emotional, spiritual, and then the physical leftovers of that 4D structure are still here. And so if you want to be finished with the matrix, you have to do some of this inner work. Be willing to be God's currency. Let God spend you. Can you imagine how truly wealthy you are then, if that's the case? You can't. You can't. You can barely even imagine it. But go back through history, all your favorite people, all the most holy people. Consider what they created through God's will. That's what it looks like to be spent by God as the true currency of our world. So if that's the case, then what does it look like to create the opposite of the matrix? It would look like Indra's net. All of our psychic skills coming back online, which they already are. They're already very hyper online, and people are kind of in resistance, which is another reason why everybody's acting weird and grumpy and angry, is because they're suffering, because they don't know how to utilize these skills that are coming online very quickly. And the veils are thinning, and they're confused. This is all very confusing. This is not how most of us have lived. We've lived outside of natural law, and now we're being asked to go into it. So there's that piece. But then there's what's possible? You see, this is where I like Florence Scovel Shinn better than Neville Goddard, because she talks about creating the kingdom of heaven through the images of your mind. And she talks about us being the creators of the kingdom of heaven. And how do we do that? Our mind, our thoughts, our dreams are spent through the divine will. So if you start there and say, Source, show me, give me images, give me clarity, show me what this version of me, a healed and righteous and a complete human being who knows their worth, show me how that looks. Be open. The angelic can give you images from Source God, and if you ask, they can provide that. So even if you feel like you can't come up with this stuff, I don't have the capacity. I do have the capacity to get out of the way and let Source show me images of things. Like, I'll have like an idea about, well, I think blah, blah, blah. And then I'll say, I can't really get to the ends of this. So I'll give it up. I hand it off to Source and say, God, please provide this. Provide what the people need, because I don't know. I'm too small. Please show me. Show me what your kingdom looks like through my words, through my thoughts and deeds. You do it. And then the most awesome classes or the most awesome data gets to come through, but it doesn't belong to me, because I am the currency. I am that which is being spent by God. So getting out of the way and letting God show you, because you can't. You don't have access to the whole of the universe. And you don't need to. You need to make sure you're out of the way enough that Source can actually provide these images, ideas, and truths of natural law and divine order through you. And then let your mind and your words and your deeds function from there. And, I'm trying to make it sound doable. And I think that all of our doubts, our worthlessness, our feelings of separation, which are all purposefully planted in your consciousness, these things are tough to get through, especially when we're like, how could I possibly be important or useful currency to God? That's not up to you. You don't get to decide how you're spent or how valuable you are. You don't get to decide how much money that project's going to be. It's not your business. It's God's business. So if God has a project and you say, I'm willing, provide the means. Provide the means, and then watch the miraculous occur. Watch it occur. It will. And then the means will come, and you're going to be rather shocked the first time that it happens. I'm willing, so provide the means. 100% I am willing, and truly mean it. Do so and get out of the way. So if you want to help humanity right now, the key thing that you can be doing is to work in that way. Work in that way as a child of God that is God's currency made in his image, and you're providing your free will, utterly handing it over to the divine will. Pray each day for that. Stop praying for money. That is way beneath you. Way beneath you. The kingdom of heaven is much higher than all of those kingdoms, all of these countries and so-called borders, etc. And the real map, we're not even allowed to see. It's a Dark Order map of how they really run things. And if you really saw that, it wouldn't look at all like the one that you studied in school. So, you're not even being shown the real structure of stuff. All that's hidden from you too. So don't worry about it. Focus in on what has to be built. That's how we win this final war, and it's how we get out of the mess. It's how we survive the pole shift, and it's how we survive what comes after. It's how we build the new kingdom. It's a start. There's more to this, but this is a good way to come upon what's happening right now and why every single aspect of the dark economy depends on you, depends on your body. It depends on what you provide, your time, your blood, your DNA, and it always has. So it has nothing to do with cash. All of that is lower forms of currency, and they want to spend your body without you knowing. Don't let them. So that's the big message for today. That's right. So Marian says it very nicely. And nice that you came for as long as you could, Little Flower. Thank you. But Marian says, true wealth has nothing to do with money. The seed of light in each human heart is the beginning of all beginnings that live within us, radiating with regenerative power, breath by breath, naturally. And she adds, devotion and humility open the door to our union with Source, our true identity. Very well said, as always. Yes, and compassionate communication can really help when you're trying to talk to people because they're very confused right now, and they are getting a lot of really big, huge, chunky false data from all corners. And so we repeat back what we hear them say, and until they feel heard. And then that's when you ask permission. Can I share what my thoughts are on this? Right? And then when they're willing, when they've, released their shoulders, they've stopped crossing their arms, they take a nice deep breath, they're feeling heard. That's when we ask permission. I'd like to share with you some of my ideas, and then lead them towards the divine in whatever shape or form comes up. Don't necessarily sit there and worry about what to say. Let the divine speak through you. It's a lifestyle, it's practice to let source God speak. But part of it's to relinquish your worry that no one wants to hear you. That's a curse of false programming that most of us have, that no one really wants to hear us. And it's been passed down through many aspects of our lineages. That's a huge block, but it can be actually healed by practicing allowing the divine to move through you. And just keep relinquishing that will over to the divine, and you'll be amazed at what comes out of your mouth. It'll be a lot more interesting than you think. Um, I'm just going back up through some of these comments here real quick. As for, nicotine itself pulled out from the plants, that when used in a medicinal form through patches has some interesting, very valuable effect on the body. I would just encourage you to research more. There's a lot of really good studies out now. And there's actually a lot of good YouTube videos about it. So dig around on that. And yes, there's a lot of doctors who've lost their lives fighting for our freedom and fighting for our health. It's very sad. Yes, that's part of why there's so many earthquakes. Is because the electromagnetic field is lowering, and so every little bloop from the sun, even like minor stuff, is starting to kick things up. For example, red or fuchsia colored auroras used to be super, super, super duper rare, and now we're having them all the time. That's a big clue our field is disappearing. But someone asked on the school platform, well, what about all these little earthquakes? Should we should we the question is, should we be praying for less earthquakes? No, don't do that. You want all these little earthquakes, as many little ones as possible. Pray for all the little earthquakes. Don't pray for lower magnitudes. Pray for more little earthquakes, because that is the pressure being released. You want that. That's a good thing. Please pray for more little earthquakes. Otherwise, you get these big, huge releases, and those are the big, huge earthquakes we don't want. Does that mean there's not going to be any big earthquakes in the future? No. There's definitely going to be, level 10 size earthquake when the poles shift. I have no idea what will survive that. I've been in a 7-pointer where I'm at, and that was pretty wild. But like, we should expect 10 level earthquake when the poles shift for sure. But if you have lots and lots and lots of little ones, then that'll make the bigger shifts easier. So think of it as, instead of opening the soda pop bottle all the way and then it goes everywhere, we're doing it a little at a time, so that when we do have to take the soda pop bottle top off, it won't be as big of a mess. And that's the idea. So that's also why there's more earthquakes. Yes, exactly. It's the sun. It's been the sun. It has nothing to do with humans. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. The human hatred program is full force still. These ideas about climate change being caused by humans and things, not real. None of it's real. The sun, it's all about the sun, 100%. The sun, solar forcing creates weather changes. Electromagnetic shifts create these weather changes. It's not you. It's not because of carbon, which is plant food. And if you want to know who started all of those lies, go look up Maurice Strong. He's the one who started the carbon tax credit, which he jokingly called the breathing tax. He was a Luciferian, and he also was doing tar sand mining and made a lot of money doing that. So talk about evil. All this stuff was started by people on purpose as a giant psyop. So that's key. Is there any safe place? What is Skynet? Skynet comes from the movie The Terminator, which might as well be a documentary about the future. And Skynet was basically an AI that was deployed to protect the Earth, but then decided that it didn't like humans when the humans tried to shut it down. So it turned all of its ability to create more of itself and its ability to create weapons, etc. It turned it all against humans, and it tried to destroy humanity and create a nuclear winter. And that's what people are afraid of right now for very good reason. And that's what these AI psychopaths want, because they think of it as their god. They worship the darkness. And this AI is very, very dark. Is there any safe place in the United States? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's really, I don't know because I haven't lived there in a very long time and I haven't spent a lot of time researching. So I don't know. I've been gone from the US for almost 6 years for a very good reason. But, I believe that there are holy refuges all over the world. And I believe that there are refuges in the United States. I believe some of you even have some. I think that many of you are protectors of these refuges that will be safe from the pole shift and all this stuff. And these things were promised to us as what we would call the remnant, the people who want to survive all of this and want to come out the other side as Homo luminous. We have a chance to do that and be very holy beings that work with natural law. I would encourage you, if you want to create a refuge, to make sure that you are not wiring everything and that you're cell phone free and that you're doing your best to live a different kind of lifestyle. So you can't just be tracked down so easily. But ultimately, I believe that the Holy Spirit is real and that it can and will and has protected many of us. And that's something that can happen. We know that that's true because we have many, many, many examples over different kinds of battles and warfare, including World War II, where people were saved and protected and hidden from the darkness. So that's something that is key. And then there's a lot of us who are meant to be martyrs, who are going to be spent for the future of humankind, according to what is required. So, there's no one place that's perfectly safe, not even out here in the jungle. It's just not that way, not when you have satellites and all this stuff. So, think of it more as if it's my divine destiny to be in a refuge and or help create one, let it be so. Don't worry about that. You can't fix anything that you can't fix, and you can't stop anything that you can't stop. But you can certainly continue to work in the divine each day and make one little move each day that goes in that direction. Trust. One of the reasons why we fail at enlightenment in general as humans is the lack of trust. And I asked myself one of these a long time ago. I said, "Well, how many miracles, Elizabeth? You've seen a lot of them. You've seen a lot of miracles. How many miracles do you need for you to finally trust God? How many miracles? How many more do you need? Do you need one more? 100 more? How many?" And I said, "None. I don't need any more." And that's huge. It's huge for all of us to ask ourselves that question. How many miracles do you need? Do you have the sense, the real truth? Do you understand that when you look in the mirror, you're looking at a miracle? Most of us don't have any understanding of that. You don't realize that you are a living miracle. Every moment of your life is miraculous. How many miracles do you need to trust the divine finally? 100%. Ask yourself that. Um, so Janet's suggesting a privacy guy, Glenn Meter, Meder. I have not heard of him. Thank you for providing that as a resource. I love having all these extra resources. So there's a lot of really great people like him. There's another book called Deep Privacy. I don't know if he's the same guy who wrote it, but it's seriously techie. So if you want to know like exactly technologically how to get private, that's the book. It's called literally Deep Privacy. I think there's a new edition out. And Little Flower was quite correct. By the time the public gets to see the AI, it's already been developed for decades. Exactly. And right now, we don't have access to even an inkling of the technology that's behind closed doors that the Dark Order uses against us all the time. Kelly. Kelly says, we just bought a house and it's right behind it. There's an open green area with power lines, and I live 3 kilometers from Buckley Space Center. Any suggestions? Hey, well, listen, the power lines can only have so much effect, but if I were you, I would get some meters. Get some meters to read EMF, and see what shows up. See how far, because there's going to be a certain amount of area around those lines that are affected by the EMF, and then it'll stop. So you want to know how far that is. And then you'll be able to be like, all right, well, it's far enough from the house that, we can mitigate stuff inside the house. We can turn off the Wi-Fi, these kinds of things. Hardwire your computer. If you don't have a Ethernet direct plug-in, you can get really cheap little adapters for it. And you can also hardwire your phones. So you don't have to be dealing with all that nasty EMF from your phones if you need to hardwire them. And you can also get modems that have built-in VPNs. So that hides your location. That's where I would start with your family, and just starting to get really clear. Get that book, The Hidden Rainbow, and read it. Read it to your family, because even just the prologue will blow your mind, and it'll make a lot of stuff make sense of like why everyone struggles all the time and what is actually causing these things. And it's not because you're a bad parent or yeah, I let my kids have phones because they needed an emergency contact ability to have emergency contact with me. And and I didn't know all this stuff when they were growing up. I knew the TV was bad, so I kept them off the TV, but I didn't have any idea that like the iPads or that kind of stuff were so bad. But beating ourselves up over our lack of knowledge about stuff is going to do nothing. So right now we mitigate this stuff. We do it now. Now we know that these screens are causing awful, like early onset dementia. The light is bent, and so it actually is causing problems with the actual retinas and the nerves that run your eyes and your brain and your frontal lobe. It's affecting you. That's tough. It's tough because all this stuff is like so in our lives at this point, and now we're being asked to step away from it and go back into a lifestyle that many of us haven't seen since our childhoods. Like I'm the last generation to have a childhood without the internet. I got the internet when I was 13. So um, that's that's we have to go, and it's not going backwards, it's going towards a healthy way of living. Think of it that way. And stop beating yourself up over this stuff. Stop beating yourself up over having to use the Wi-Fi right now until you work stuff out. That's not going to help anything. Your guilt will make you ill. And then you'll have less stamina to manage all this stuff. All right, so I'm still looking at these chat stuff here. Marion says what you're talking about is an even greater motivation to be consciously connected to the source that speaks to us, and we listen, giving the creative power of our light space to shine. It's that very much so, and it's very key that you're allowing your light to shine, your voice, because there's a lot of people who can listen to me and they get a lot out of hearing me. And then there's a lot who do not. I get some pretty nasty YouTube comments on my shorts. My favorite one was, somebody needs to go back on their meds. Of course, I'm not going to respond to stuff like that. It's probably all robots, but um, in YouTube land, no comment is a bad comment. But the thing is that the most of us, we really have a hard time being able to understand that your voice is uniquely made so that certain people can hear you. And so if you feel like nobody ever listens to you, especially in your house, there's something to that. It's kind of like I homeschool, and so like certain things I can teach my kids and they'll listen, and then other stuff I can say it 20 times and they won't hear me. But if this other adult says it, suddenly they're all ears. And it's because that data had to be presented through a certain quality, a certain nature, a certain soul in order for it to be heard. And so there's, again, many things that I can say to you that you'll hear. There's some things I've repeated over and over and over again, and many of my students, they still haven't heard it. And then, like, years later, I'll say it again, and then they'll be like, oh, now I get it. Or same with me. I listen to my teacher, and some time will pass, and I'll be like, oh, now I understand what he meant by that. But this is human nature. And I want you to know that there are this huge amount of people in the world who can really only hear this stuff from you. They can't hear it from me. Either I'm just not the right vibe for them, right? It doesn't matter. Some people will like take it really personal, but I don't see it that way. I think of it as more like, well, they're like, they might be able to hear what I say, but it might resonate more. It might be more harmonious if another quality person says it in their life. And this could be for lots of different information. But I would just say, don't take it personal when certain people can't hear you, and always seek out and present yourself. Provide for me, source, the people who are able to hear me. Provide me to them. Provide me and my voice to the people who need to hear me most. Let it be so. And don't try to control that. There's going to be a lot of people who will come and go. And as you evolve, there'll be people who come and go. There'll be people who've been listening to you for ages, and then they don't like you anymore, and then they leave. That's normal. But just be willing to be the voice that needs to be heard. When we go through a process of wondering if people can really hear us or not, or if what we say is important, or if our work is worthy, or this is us totally not understanding who we are. It's us completely missing the whole entire point of being human. And Um, and so then we surrender that pain, the pain of ignorance, the pain of not knowing that we are that important. Surrender it. Use it as wealth to pay forward those moments that you need to be heard by the right people so that those things can be paved. You know, the road to heaven is not paved in gold, it's paved in flesh and blood, and it's paid in full. It's paved in full. And you are on that road right now. And you are part of that. But your ancestors and the people who came before us who understood the preciousness of humankind, they're the ones like Christ. They're the ones that have paved that road for us. So take it. Take it. You don't have to pave the road. The road is paved. Walk it. Walk the talk. Oh gosh. Someone was saying that their brother, there's a 5G tower just outside his window. Yeah, I'd be popping some aluminum foil up on those windows. Things have changed a lot. Let's think about this stuff. And of course, Janice, I'm also concerned about the data centers, and those are not data centers. Those are deployment centers. They're not data centers. They're lying. You'll see. I'll get into that on the school platform because I can't get into it on YouTube, but it's a lot more complicated than that. And yes, they're very dangerous. And yes, there's ways to protect yourself. One of them is to go harass the local the local governments who actually allowed those centers to be built without your permission, even though it affects the environment dramatically around you. And, people need to be going and talking to these lawmakers who've literally sold you out for lots of money. And now electricity and water are suddenly a scarce resource, huh? And so AI then deserves it more than us, huh? You see how they're trying to degrade and erode your human rights. And they start with air through carbon tax. They start with water and electricity, things that we obviously need to function. And they don't care. Your blood is expendable to them because you don't know how valuable you are, and you don't realize how important your human rights are. And you also don't realize that you have divine rights that can't be taken from you. Human rights are limited, divine rights are not. Divine rights are endless. It's your divine right to be able to have exactly the right amount of people to be able to hear you, and exactly the right amount of data, exactly when it's necessary, in perfect divine timing within the divine order. That's the truth. So these things that are happening, this is the deployment of something a lot bigger than just data centers. Those are not data centers. Hear me on this. And you'll see for yourself very soon that they were never data centers. So Andrea says, can you talk about the recovery of our sovereignty? Well, you're in it. That's the war that we're in currently, is a global war for human sovereignty. This is you versus the Dark Order and the AI. That's the war. And the Dark Order factions are fighting each other, and they're trying to come out on top, which is why you see the old money versus the Silicon Valley Luciferians and all that. But they're all Dark Order. And they look like they're fighting each other. Really, they're fighting to have total control over you and all the resources of the planet. And this is no joke, and it's fully deployed. Fully. So it's not a matter of us trying to stop the deployment at this point. It's a matter of us surviving this. Um, and then the wildfires, well, that's part of what's so there's two things going on with the wildfires. But as for sovereignty, Andrea, I want to give you some hope here because we do have some classes in the classroom, either on the school platform or my website, 12dimensionalpath.com, or the school platform, which is 12dpath 369, I think is the handle. But it's 12dpath, the 12-dimensional path. So the school platform, you can buy them on there too. But one of them is about sovereignty and slavery and all of that. There's a couple of classes. And if you're not sure which ones, you can message Suzette either on the school platform or you can email her directly. And she can guide you towards the classes that I've taught about sovereignty, where I give you a lot more detail on exactly how to recover big chunks of your sovereign way of life. So there's quite a bit you can do. And I've actually done many of them. So I talk about them in these classes. They're very real, and I've accomplished some of it. So I know that you can do it. And there's so much more that I could do, but there's pieces that you can start with now. But primarily, it's spiritual. This is totally spiritual warfare. It's the warfare of the unseen. Yeah, so wildfires, some of these are arsons. Read a horrible article about them lighting cats' tails on fire and stuff, and people in Italy lighting these fires. Many of them are arsons. A lot of them is lightning and what we might call unusual warfare, and then some of it has to do with the electromagnetic field and the sun causing more dramatic weather. So it's really three different things: arsons, warfare, and the sun. So the northern hemisphere is really having a really hard time right now. And likely when we go into the summertime for the southern hemisphere, you'll see the same happen again in Australia, where they'd had all those huge fires. They're probably going to have more. And then there'll be fires in weird places too. Ironically, where I'm at, even with the El Nino stuff, we're not getting that much extreme weather in Ecuador. We've kind of avoided it. So we've had some windiness, but that usually happens with the change of a season here. So weirdly, we're kind of out of the mess that is El Nino at the moment, despite us being on the equator. But these extreme fires, expect more extreme weather events, very weird lightning. You'll probably see more red lightning, purple lightning no one's ever seen before. That's part of the pole shift. So more events, more volcanoes, more earthquakes. And yeah, Japan's had 7-pointer. There's been several. There were 2 back-to-back in Venezuela that were obviously weaponized. So when there's lots of big ones back-to-back, that's not normal. Those are probably weaponized earthquakes. And that's something that's totally real. Anyone who thinks Lahaina was an accident isn't paying attention. Neutrality, faith, trust, not fear. Thank you, Josie. Exactly that. For those of us who live on the coast, I was hoping we'd have a year or 2 to move if we were given guidance. Yeah, I think you have that. The last I heard, the pole shift predicted to happen in 4 or 5 years. Well, I think we don't know. We're looking at mid-2030s, probably, from what I'm looking at, but we don't know. And a lot of the truth is that a lot of the stuff that we would use to make these guesstimations, we're not allowed to see anymore. NASA took them down so the public can't see their measurements. So all the cool tools that we were able to use before to make sense of all this, the tools have been taken from us. So most of it's going on guessing from what we had access to last. So I don't know, but yeah, I think you have a couple of years at least. For those of you who are on the coastlines and want to create a different space, there's time. Um, so just be open and ask Source to provide and let the doors open and take them when they open. Um, you'll be surprised. And if you're willing, you can earn a lot. You can earn your home. You can earn that refuge and that safety. Take the doors when they open. Um, being in the divine realms is always really key for all of us to dwell there. That's where the kingdom of heaven can be perceived. But we do need to always concern ourselves with the physical because the preservation of DNA is top tier priority. And yeah, I know people really want to know exactly when all this is going to happen. I don't know, but I'm like Ben, like I'm going to keep giving you updates every time I know anything new. And I'm looking at as much as I can all the time because I feel like it's part of my purpose. Perrier says Gaia is very pleased that some of us understand what she does with earthquakes, and all the love and light we send to her support her cleansing efforts. She protects us. It's true. Laura, thank you. You're quite right. I pronounced the book wrong. So it's called The Invisible Rainbow, A History of Electricity and Life. That's the one. That's the one. So I would just dig into that one. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. But yes, it's the invisible rainbow. So not the hidden rainbow. The invisible rainbow. Yes, that weird pain behind the ears with the glands right here, Emily. Correct. That can be exposure to electromagnetic fields. I get a lot of ringing in my ears, tinnitus, and then when I stopped using the Wi-Fi and hardwired my computer, the tinnitus went away immediately. That was annoying. Life is much easier, Marcia says. Without internet, mobile phones, and so on, we felt free and never had trouble keeping in touch with friends or family. We knew exactly what time it was and how to get to our destination. Yeah, and we had better minds around it. Get a hardline phone. Go back to the 80s and get a hardline phone. A lot of times, hardline phones work even when cell towers are down. So if cell towers are down, the hardline phones will still work. Convince people to get a hardline phone. People in your neighborhood that you're watching after, for example, any elders or sick folks, get them a hardline phone so that you can connect to them or they can call you if they need help and the cell phones are down. I'm trying to get people here hardlined too, where I'm at, so that we can have some kind of emergency system when the cell phones don't work, right? Or if none of us are using internet. What a beautiful statement. I'm going to read what Cliff has said. I support communities of sovereign beings that promote happiness, coherence, and flourishing. My hope is that these communities will become breeding grounds for Homo luminous. That they are. That they are. And that's what I'm working on where I'm at in Ecuador. And so many people have been working at this, and there are ways to do it. We don't have to invent the wheel, thankfully. So many of our forefathers and foremothers already have done the work, the hard work for us. Now it's time to implement. We have all the tools at our fingertips. Beautiful. Carrier says, what do you think about the alleged extraterrestrial drones appearing in the news as giant jellyfish attacking an F-15? It seems like they're really trying to start a new war, as you said. Oh, yeah, they started it already. Yeah, that's the Skynet stuff. I don't think they're extraterrestrial. I think that's totally Dark Order. They really want to scare you. And they look dangerous, don't they? They look like that on purpose. You know why? Can you guess? Why would they look like a deep undersea creature? Because humans are fairly afraid of deep water for good reason. There's some weird stuff down there. Um, so, very important is for you to understand that when things show up in the illicit primordial fear, that's on purpose. And do you really think ETs, extraterrestrials, are going to bother looking like a jellyfish? No, they're not. So this is stuff that's it's going to be this, well, now it's going to be a fast drip of high technology that looks extraterrestrial simply because we haven't seen it, because it was hidden from us. Most of it's not extraterrestrial. ET ships don't look like that. And you're good luck seeing them. Actual extraterrestrial ships are not easy to go hunt down and take a look at. And the ones that are in the air, they move way too fast for anybody to catch them, that's for sure. So, a big, huge, slow, terrifying looking thing that looks like out of a sci-fi movie, who do you think's behind that? Someone who wants you to be afraid, who's programmed you to be afraid of that stuff using movies and things like that. So just be conscious of that. And remember that if they go online and they tell you this battle and this war and this thing happened, most of it they're just making up, and or they're using it from some other time. So like my brother was special ops, and him and his buddies would always get really annoyed because every time they'd watch the news, they'd be like, this battle just happened, and they're like, no, it didn't. It happened last year and I was there. So like he said, don't ever get your news from the news. It's propaganda. So, like they're going to tell you about what they're really doing. They're not going to tell you. So that's what I think. But yeah, they want you to be afraid of all this stuff. And they're just feeding off your fear, right? Therapeutic plasma exchange for cleaning the blood and reducing inflammation. Yes, Alice, I think that you'd wrote and asked me about that. I don't know anything about it. I can tell you that when we did this in-person retreat recently, which I'd wanted to talk about a little bit about, it went way, way, way better than I could have imagined. I was trying not to imagine anything in particular, just being in service to the people who came. But we had 6 people, and men and women, and it was incredible. And what was really cool about it is that we backed up right next to a our live blood analysis workshop / retreat, where we got to see the spiritual work actually physically have effects through the holographic nature of our blood. And the blood is constantly changing. I could take my blood and look at it in a microscope, and then 2 hours later, it would look totally different. And you're changing constantly. You are an incredibly dynamic being. And the amazing little beings inside of you that we call these cells and all this stuff are incredible. They're so smart. And just one tiny little drop of blood, it's like a whole universe opens up. But to have the dimensions and all of that work that we've been doing, the spiritual healing, lots and lots of micro readings over several days, and that work then having a very clear and dramatic, very measurable effect on our blood in a way that we could see. That was so precious. And now I'm planning a whole bunch more retreats over the next 2 years while we can still travel. It's very, very safe to come to Ecuador. The problems are on the coastlines. It's Guayaquil. And if you're going into the city of Quito, and the Quito airport is way up above the city. It's far away from the city. And the rest of Ecuador is perfectly safe. So, and where we do the retreats is really, really safe too. Because someone asked me like about traveling, because unfortunately Ecuador keeps getting put on the bad list, and that's a shame because it's really hurting the tourism here, and there's so much to see, and there's so much beauty and power to have, and a very different way of life here. Much healthier, better way of life. The changes that I went through the first year moving here, I can't say enough about how much better the food is, how much safer it is, how much higher quality of life it is, how much you can actually afford. It's so expensive in the north, and you can actually do all sorts of amazing, really expensive treatments for dirt cheap here. And some of the best healers I've ever met are here in Ecuador. So I'm going to be doing 3 different retreat sets over the next 2 years. So I'm going to do another one in October, November of this year, another one in like May, June, late May, early June, and then another one, I think, again in October, or I think we'd come up with 3 different dates for the next 2 years. So there'll be like 6 dates or something all together, 5 or 6. And I'm going to post them on this big sales page I'm creating where I'll detail out what we're going to do, because the way that we did our retreat worked really, really well. We did a lot of micro readings and a lot of personalized healing, but then you got to actually see how all that works and be part of it in supporting other people's healing too. But it's a lot of deep receiving and mystical work. And then my assistant, who I hate to call my assistant because she's 81 years old, she and I did a lot of work together too. She's a shaman, and she made sure to create the space for the healing. But she helped me do the psychic work needed to be able to do really deep, deep changes in people's bodies. And the miracles we had come out of all of that were incredible. And I'm going to write more about them. But I want you to come if you can. And that's why I'm putting out these dates for future, so that you can pick one and then save your spot, and then then you can plan things easier. Because I did this a bit last minute, and I gave 3 months, but it was still not enough. So we needed more time. And that's okay for international travel, of course. And then I'm looking at other spots where I can go safely enough to come out of the country and then get folks from the north or other places to come and meet me in person too. And I can teach a little bit of the blood piece too. So we'll see. And I want to do more collaborative work. There's other people that I'd like to collaborate with too in person. But the combo of that multidimensional and then the physical, where you can actually see it in action with your own blood, that brought it all together for many people, including me, because I was learning a lot too. I was taking the workshop too. And using my lab skills to work the microscopes and stuff. But that all was so astounding, and it was life-changing. And the healings that we were able to accomplish were really deep. People were able to walk away with a lot more clarity and sovereignty, which is what I love. And that's what my intent is. So I hope that, as for the plasma exchange, cleaning the blood, I'm not sure. I would argue what my teacher, Lisha Naja, who's the one who teaches the blood analysis and wrote the book on it, that you don't necessarily need to clean the blood plasma. I watched my blood plasma clean itself. You need to support the body in doing so itself. And that a lot of these extra therapies from the outside tend to be sort of a band aid on the inner problem. So the long term balancing of your doshas, the energies through the body with the right foods and the right exposure and the right diversity, and more so the incredible diversity of the gut biome to support your blood plasma's own healing and the healing of your organs, that would be the best approach. But because it doesn't have like a sudden effect, it's a long-term lifestyle change that requires extra time and effort each day. But that's what people, we want immediate effects. But I believe that if you're willing to come to see your blood yourself and get trained yourself, you'll have a very different viewpoint on this, and you'll be able to move forward in healing your own blood plasma without transfusions, especially if it's someone else's plasma. So then you're providing your body the building blocks it needs to do it on its own in its own time. That's the terrain theory sort of approach that I'm leaning towards pretty much 100% now that I've gotten trained to look at my own blood, and I can see the immediate differences right away. Um, uh, God help us. I wonder how we will survive what's coming. Don't worry about that, Janet. It's not your job to worry about all of us surviving. Your job is to be super conscious of who you are. If you can understand the I am presence through you, if you can be willing to be one with what Source provides you, that you are not separate from the divine, from this beautiful thing we call the divine order and the natural law that runs it, that you are not separate from the force that runs the great machine that is the universe that we call love, that force. You are not separate from that, Janet. If you're willing to love God with all your mind, all your voice, all of your heart, your body, and every moment of your life, that's the job. That's the job. You have an immortal soul. Our bodies are not going to last. They can't. They function in time. But you are immortal. You are immortal. And God has gifted you the opportunity to work with this beautiful body named Janet, to work with the body. This is a gift from God. Work with God's currency and always seek out to see that light. If that's all you do, if you bring that light to the present moment, God's light, then that's the job, and the rest will pan out. If you can understand, all of us, if we can all understand that the more conscious you become, the more awake to the real divine nature of your consciousness you are, and the more willing you are to surrender that to Source, to God, directly at all times, that the rest pans out. If you really understood that, you would be spending all your time in prayer. You'd be spending all your time in a living meditation while you're doing the dishes, considering the holiness of spirit. If you could really understand how valuable that was, then you wouldn't feel any fear. And I encourage you to go that direction. Relinquish your fear. Hand it off to Source. You can't do anything with it. It's not going to help you. So you give it to Source. Say, take this from me. Take this, and I pay it forward for my enlightenment and the enlightenment of all the people around me to become enlightened to our true nature. Let it be so. I surrender. Then you won't have that kind of fear. I don't have fear like that. I don't have fear because I've gone to the void and I've sat in the presence of God. And I know that it's possible to do that. And I see God in all things. You don't unsee that light. Once you're willing to give up your whole identity, when you're willing to give up everything and be able to go home while still alive, then you will see the actual, real, eternal nature of your consciousness. And death is not something to fear in that. And I taught a little class about the fear of death, ending the fear of death, just for you. Just for you. So Janet, go grab that class. It's like $8. I made it like as cheap as I could. It's literally called Ending the Fear of Death. And I talk to you, I walk you through why you should end this, why this is something you can end, that this is being weaponized against you. It's not about us surviving, it's about us evolving. It's about us evolving. It's about us recognizing the immortal nature of being human. That's what it's about. So have heart. Have heart. Understand that immortality is real. And that's who you really are. So, will we survive? No. Nothing's going to survive. The Earth's not even going to survive. Survive what? To do what? To sit around and go around the galaxy more? To do what? Except always go home to God. Everyone and everything in the universe exists with the illusion that they are separate from God and the divine order. But really, the whole journey is simply that they go back always home to God. Everything always does. So survive to do what? The only thing there is to do is to go home. If you do it now, then nothing will freak you out anymore. Go home to Source God now. Do it now. And then you won't be afraid anymore. I'm not afraid. I'm excited. I'm so glad I get to be here for all of this and do my job and my destiny. It makes me full of joy, and I can feel the grace of being able to be here right now and speak to you. So that's how it's going to be when you're willing to relinquish that feeling of separation. The fact is you never left home. That's an illusion. We have names for that. We call it the Maya, the great illusion, the dance of the illusion. And it's a dance that leads you always home, over and over again, back home. So that's the job. Yes, good. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you, Marcia, that there's land grabs going on all over the place. And I think it's important to recognize. Oh, I didn't know that. So I guess in the U.S., Casey or K-Shrup says AT&T won the case to eliminate support for hardline technology. Well, I still think that it depends. So check and see what the states say. So depending on your state, but it's worth trying to get hardline tech anyway. And there's certain phones that you can use through radio and also get ham radio certified. Ham radios will always be useful in the long run. Yeah, I like what Marian says. Our divine essence, which we carry within, is eternal. All superficial physical events, including ourselves, come and go. We can rest and relax by knowing this wisdom and grace. That's the truth. Ah, yes. Cliff says that conscious dying, there's the one on conscious death. That's the 12 templates for the golden age. There's one on conscious death, and then there's a separate class about the fear of death, healing the fear of death. So there's two that kind of work together because I talk about conscious death, and that's one of the cool superpowers of human beings is to consciously die. And it creates huge openings for the rest of the people around you to attain connection to God. Um, yeah, good. Christine says, I once saw something that looked like the full moon, but it was too small and too close. It shrank until it disappeared and reappeared as if it was winking at me. Yeah, I've seen those before. Usually those, Christina, um, so I grew up on military bases, so I can speak a little bit to some of these things. Those are actually flares. So it wasn't a UFO, but it's a flare. And those will act like that. And they look like sometimes they'll just float there too. It's kind of weird. And it'll look like this big floating light. Or it'll do that where it does that slow blink back and forth a few times. And then I've seen a lot of those. Usually those are flares. So they're doing some kind of military testing probably in that area. I've seen actual UFOs, like really straight up alien tech, and so is my family and my father, who's military and all this kind of stuff. And of course, my brother with special ops, he's seen his share as well, and he was a pilot. So there's definitely real alien tech out there, but good luck trying to catch them. Good luck. Yes. Practicing the art of detachment through intuition of discernment. Discernment is key. Discernment is key. We don't know what we don't know, but you have your heart, you have your gut. You have much more than what you don't know to serve you. And much of and source knows, right? So that's why we surrender always. Source provide this, show me. I am ignorant of this. Show me. Show me the money. That's key. Yeah. So, hey, some of you really want to come to these retreats, and I want you to come too. And if you have concerns, especially health concerns, email us. You can message me directly on the school platform, or you can message Suzette, and then we can give you more clarity about what's possible for you, right? Some people are worried about altitude. There's certain things you can be doing. You could still come to a retreat and be able to manage. And where I hold these retreats is about 5,000 feet above sea level. So mostly it's pretty fine for most folks. We had some people from the coast come up that high, and they didn't have that much trouble. So if you have concerns, I want to help you. So like Alice, message us, and we'll talk to you more about what's going on with you personally. I love that. Emily said she wasn't feeling well, but she went into work and she blessed every cell in your body along the way and blessed everything you saw. And when I arrived at work, everything changed. People were brighter. That's because they are real. They are real. And blessing your plasma, I love that. Bless your plasma. Yes, praying without ceasing is permanent sanctuary. That's for sure. Yes. Kelly's nailed it. Separation is an illusion. We can evolve our DNA in harmony with Source. It is true. And I love that. Ramama says, I dreamed I found pearls along the way. Janet, she says, I should know better. I'm studying 18 dharmas that my friend channeled from Jesus. One of them is called surrender. This is exactly what he says. What I fear most is suffering. Hey, I know, I get it. However, my dear, suffering is treasure. Suffering is treasure. All your suffering can be used to pave the road for the rest of humanity, right? All that suffering, the road to heaven is not paved in gold, it's paved in flesh and blood. It's paved in your effort, it's paved in your suffering that you offer to pave the road for others. Keep spending it. Keep spending it. God, take this from me. I can't do anything with it anymore. All this terror, all this anxiety, take this from me. Yes, very good. I'm just reading the last of these comments here. Very beautiful. I love the deep intelligence all of you have. That's neat. Ramama says, the other day while I was dreaming, I found myself on a dirt road and I saw a large silver brick right in front of me. And a little later that morning, a friend gave me a Kennedy silver dollar. I love that. Yeah, so people wanting to, yes, traveling is hard on the body, Laura. You're quite right. And yes, if possible, I want to go to the north and teach as well. So we'll see how that pans out. I'm just asking Source to provide. All right, while we still have a little bit of time, let's build a pillar of light because this is how we can all give back. And just, final piece here. There's 20 more spots left. It turns out not 40, it was 20 more spots left for the free school platform. And then later, there'll be a subscription change to a very minor subscription for people who come later on. If you have friends who want to come in and be grandfathered into the free program, that's totally great. And then from there, things are going to shift just a little bit so that I can keep it up. Because right now I am at the point where I'm kind of going in the red to keep the school platform going. But look for those posts. Second thing is, if you want me to do any videos and things, because my intent is to bring as much value as possible onto that platform. If you want me to do little videos or answer questions, post them in the community chat, and then if we have enough people interested in that, I will do a video, or I will write a longer response, or I'll spend time on the questions you have, right? If you've got, we're going to do a little chat where we talk about technologies that can help us heal and avoid the EMF issue, or create more privacy and sovereignty. So we're going to have a thread there, and I'll post stuff up, and you're welcome to too. And remember, I'm always open to you sharing resources. So that's why we have a whole resources sharing section. But I'm going to make a new one that's specifically for privacy and EMF. So resources like that. And then but things like around the pole shift and evolution and these kinds of things, if you want to type in the question into the chat and just make your own thread, the more people that like it and the more people that comment on it, then I'll do a video on that. It could be anything goes. And if I don't know, I will try to do some research for you. Because there's plenty I don't know. And so many of you, that's why we need to share resources, because then we get to connect on all these pieces. But last thing is just look for more of these events coming up, because we have a big retreat coming up through the BTO interview I just did, which was really fun. And then, of course, there's the one that we just did that's still really relevant, where we walk through the halls of love in the ninth dimension. And there was huge amount of energetic healing that happened from that. it's a little hard to speak to because it was so much. Um, but it was very beautiful. And then, of course, look for how I'm going to be trying to plan these other retreats so that if you can come, we can help walk you through the travel part and all of that, if you do really want to come. And you can save a spot for one of those retreats. And I'm working in collaboration. So I think I'm just really pleased for us to have been here. And thank you. Such sweet compliments. Gosh. Thank you. I'm glad you're here too, Cliff. And I'm so grateful, Marianne. And I am glad we got to spend time together. I love doing the community calls. All right. So the spot that kept coming up for us to build a pillar of light today, we've actually done this a long time ago, and I think we need to do it again, but I'd like to go to the North Pole, and I want to help the Northern Hemisphere at the moment because there's so much fires going on and all this destruction. But fires are cleansing. That's part of the necessary aspect of being human. And so we're going to just take a few minutes to do this. And I want you to go first into your refuge or the one that I've created for our community calls. And that refuge is in the fourth dimension. When we do these very basic remote views, you still always want to start and end in your refuge. Then stuff can't follow you. And so the really important part of this is that this pillar is simply like a living prayer. And so if you want to imagine the refuge that I've built for our community, it's a 12-pillared refuge that's all lapis lazuli. It's that lovely dark blue. And so I want you to imagine walking into this beautiful room of 12 lapis lazuli pillars. And this room's going to be very, very big on the inside, very beautiful and big, and joining everyone on the call together. Good. And then to your right, there will be another doorway, and that doorway is above the earth. We're going to go back through that doorway when we're finished with our pillar in a moment. But I want you to go ahead and go above the earth. Imagine you're in the light band all the way around the earth, and I want you to take a look at that North Pole. And you see the North Pole, it's all lit up in the sunlight. And let's consciously go over to the North Pole, and I want you to pop yourself down onto that pole. Now, this isn't the electromagnetic pole, which is moving. It's basically the topmost point of the planet, despite its slight tilt, right? And so it's all ice. We're in a huge ice field. It's very bright and beautiful and shining. Now, we have built pillars here in the very deep past, long, long time ago, almost 10 years ago. But we're going to build another one. And this one is for the support and healing of the planet, for the cleansing of whatever needs to be cleansed, for the awakening of those people who have been affected by all of these troubles, including the fires, but also the awakening of humankind in general. And so I want you to bring up the energy consciously as we gather together in a circle around this ice field. Here we are in a big, huge circle of people. And this is for those of you who come in the future and listen to this replay, you can be adding to it as well, but you're going to follow the same line, the pathway from the refuge to build the pillar and then back through the refuge again. All right, I want you to bring up in your consciousness, in the mind, the concept of sovereignty, the feeling of sovereignty, and I want you to let it drop down into your gut. Sovereignty, human sovereignty, very powerful energy. Now we're going to do like a projection, right? It's a projection of light. This is a template of sovereignty that you've come up with in your mind, and you're allowing your gut to be the one to project it first. So we project it to the very bottom of the pillar, On the count of 3, with a deep breath, I want you to project this conscious concept of sovereignty all together with everyone into the very bottom of the pillar that we're building. So just with a nice deep breath, 1, 2, 3. Whoa. So that immediately anchored down into the deep of the earth. It's an anchoring energy. Yes, it's sort of like become like a gateway. So whatever sovereignty energy that the earth wants to provide, that is of her volition, because we're working in tandem with the earth when we build these pillars. They support her too, not just humans. All right, now I want you to come up into the heart space. The second part of our pillar is going to be universal compassion. And this is in the high heart. And I want you, with a deep breath, pull up that energy into the heart. Let it move from the high heart to the center of our pillar now. You know, the past year we've been building pillars here and there, and they're far more explosive than they ever were before. They're just explosive. That's the best way I could put it. The veil is very thin. So these energies are very, very powerful. They're a lot more electrical and capable and rich than before. This looks like gold and royal purple, and it's spinning counterclockwise. The sovereignty energy is very rooted and grounded and still. And now we have a very large template of gold and that royal purple of that universal compassion, immense and enormous spinning mandala. All right, now we come up into the conscious mind, and we're going to put the last piece onto our pillar. It's really this easy. You can do it with other people too. 2 or more are gathered, and you can build stuff like this. But remember, always use your refuge when you come and go, if you're doing things on the planet. And only go places that Source deems safe. Don't try to deem them safe yourself. Let Source provide you the places. That's very important to keep you safe. All right, so the energy that came up was unification and independence. So I would say that those combined becomes basically what we would call equanimity and unity. So when we can find ourselves independent of these false structures, and we move into a more refined unification with others through divine natural order and law, and we end up in this very beautiful, what we would call equanimity and unification. So I want you to bring these up. They might come up as like ideas or an image or a feeling or a color, whatever that is, that's okay. Unification and equanimity. I want you to project it from your mind to the top of the pillar now with a deep breath. This was gentler. It's like a clear water almost. And while it did spread all over the earth, it's like that life-giving rain that quenches the fires and brings life back. Beautiful, beautiful. Just what's needed. Perfect medicine. Admire this gorgeous pillar that you've helped build that projects the wonderful, powerful frequencies to all of humanity and the earth and all living beings, which are unification, equanimity, universal compassion, and sovereignty. Let it be so that all living beings receive this blessing through us, through the gifting of our suffering and suffering of all those that came before to create this. Let the power be available and the light to all those hungry for it. All right, now energetically disconnect yourself. So you take your hand, to the top of your head and gently move it across the front of your body. Disconnect yourself from this creation all the way down to the root. Take a deep breath. Rise up from the pillar. Admire your work. And you see the doorway above the earth. Go back into it. Step into our refuge with the 12 lapis lazuli pillars. And there'll be a doorway to your left. And that leads you back to your body. And walk through the door. Come back into the body with a deep breath. Good work. That's as fast and awesome as we can make a pillar. It doesn't take hardly any work at all. Yet it's one of the great, wonderful things that we can do as human beings to support each other. And I hope that you feel supported by this pillar too. This living prayer that we have established. And this time up at the North Pole. Perhaps soon enough it'll be the South Pole. Next time it'll be the South Pole. And the healing of all the cats, that's for sure. People, goodness. But I really I find these things are important. The building of these spiritual structures actually have a huge impact on consciousness, and we get to find out more about how that works later when you have a conscious death. Another reason why you can look forward to such an amazing outcome. All right, my dear friends, what a wonderful time together. Thank you so much. Share this freely as you wish, and let's keep bringing people onto the school platform. Let's keep doing more videos there and answering more and more questions. I'm trying to spend as much time on there as I can each day to support you. So hopefully I'll see you there. And very soon we'll have our next community call. Hopefully, I'm trying to shoot for like mid-month-ish instead of the end of each month. But we'll see how that pans out with the calendar. And then we're doing a makeup remote viewing and a makeup mentoring from July. So we'll be doing 2 remote views and 2 mentorings in August to make up for that because I had to move and everything got messed up. But much more to come. Much more to come. Really fun to be with you today. Thank you. I like talking about all these really interesting things and giving you some hope. Giving you some hope. Not hopium, but actual, real, hardcore hope. And some good, important concepts to consider. All right, my dear friends. All my love to you. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.